These plague the listless high school student, Arisu, who yearns to escape his meaningless humdrum life. His friends Chota and Karubi are on the same boat as him, and they all talk about going somewhere else. In the middle of their yearning, a series of fireworks sets off, surprising them as it's 4 in the morning. Things take an even stranger turn when an unusually massive one lights up the sky, and soon, it engulfs them in an explosion. They wake up to a ravaged and desolated Tokyo City. The place is abandoned, the buildings have already been reclaimed by nature, and it's like they're the only humans left. While Karubi is suspicious of the situation, Arisu and Chota are both unable to contain their excitement. Their exploration leads them to a seemingly harmless festival area. As they enjoy the food left in the stalls, a machine suddenly announces the beginning of a game with 4 entries. Finding the place perilous, Karubi urges his friends to run away. But before they can escape, the 4th entry appears. She's a woman named Shibuki, and she warns the boys that if they don't take this seriously, they'll get killed. And to prove her point, she takes Karubi's cigarette and flings it towards the exitway. It's immediately decimated by the invisible strips installed to barricade the whole area. From the looks of it, they're imprisoned to partake in this deadly game, and while the trio's still confused, Shibuki remains unfazed. It's like this isn't her first rodeo at all. She explains the game's difficulty level, which starts with 3 relatively less dangerous ones. This means that if they work together, they might all be able to survive this. When a lantern turns off, their game begins. As Shibuki heads to draw a fortune slip, a bewildered Arisu bombards her with questions. However, the woman warns him to use his head instead if he wants to last long in the game. They then take turns in drawing the fortune slip. Karubi draws first and receives a slip of great blessing, saying that he's a general who must wait for a person. Karubi's slip makes the game look easy to Chota and Arisu. However, Chota's fortune slip contains a math problem he needs to solve. While Arisu is helping him solve it, Karubi is interrogating Shibuki about who she is, and whether she is an ally or an enemy. Karubi finds out that the woman has seen people killed in this game, and as the two are preoccupied with their conversation, Chota answers the problem incorrectly, notifying the game machine. To everyone's horror, the machine announces that it's going to shoot flaming arrows to kill him. Fortunately, the arrows miss Chota, but this encounter just proves how serious and life-threatening the game is. Arisu, who had been desperate for a semblance of thrill in his life, can't even comprehend how much more dangerous the game could get. He's in a total state of shock, and he can't believe that Shibuki's just moving on to draw her fortune slip. She curtly asks him what he thinks will happen if all the lanterns turn off before they finish, and with that, Karubi helps her answer her slip. This does nothing to pull Arisu out of the bog of dread he found himself in. With tears in his wild eyes, he starts thinking back to his mundane yet safe life, desperately wishing to go back there, to be away from this dangerous place. As for Shibuki and Karubi, they give an incorrect answer, which triggers hundreds of fire arrows flying their way. While everyone's running for safety, Arisu can't even move. All he can do is ask himself if he's going to die there. Fortunately, Karubi kicks him to snap him out of it, yelling at him that he knows he can make it through this. Finally, Arisu moves and hides, but Chota panics, causing him to get shot. Karubi runs in and successfully saves his friend, which fully throttles his courage to survive the game. From then on, Arisu is inspired by Karubi's courage, his willingness to accept and adapt to everything that's happening to them. With much boldness, he draws a fortune slip, only to end up with the greatest curse, a problem that's impossible to solve. While everyone's struck with hopelessness, Arisu tries to connect all the hints from everyone's slips. Through this, he figures out that answering the problems correctly will not clear the game. But since the direction where the arrows will be coming from is written on the paper, they can safely hurry over to the exit. Arisu gives the wrong answer and countless of flaming arrows are now flying towards them. The group runs in the opposite direction until they discover an old well. At first, Arisu thinks that he got it all wrong when they see the well filled up with soil, but Karubi digs it up until he discovers a way to open it. The group climbs down to an empty room, where the board game announces that they cleared the 3 of clubs game and that they managed to survive the flaming arrows. The 4 are elated, and the machine gives them a visa that shows how long they can stay there in the Borderland. The visa shows that their stay has been extended by 3 days, so the group decides to explore the area. While tending to the injured Chota, they meet another participant who looks to be in great distress. That person says he lost all his friends in the game. Suddenly, a ray of green light drops directly on the man like a bomb that kills him instantly. The boys can only shiver in fear as Shibuki reveals that when the visa expires, they will face death. On the first day of their extension, the group enjoys eating the fish Chota caught for them. However, out of the blue, Karubi suggests participating in another game tonight to strengthen their ability and avoid slacking off. It would also be safer if they didn't wait until the last day of the extension. Chota has to exclude himself because of his injury and Shibuki decides to stay with him. That night, Arisu and Karubi enter a building and meet a bunch of participants. This time, they are going to play tag wherein an unknown killer will be lurking around. A participant explains that tonight's game is spades, which is all about physical effort. The game will run for 30 minutes and it will be cleared when they reach the home base within the time limit, and it's game over when the time is up or all participants are killed. As the players start moving, Arisu realizes the most important thing in this game is choosing their first spot. So, he begins analyzing the structure of the building in his head to determine the best ways to move inside. A participant joins them and tries telling them what to do, but Arisu doubts his instructions. So, he decides to rely on his observational and analytical skills. However, there's another mysterious player who seems to be as observant as Arisu, and he chooses the top floor to have a better view of what's happening around. He is unmoved, even when it's beginning to sound like the killer is making his move. To this player, it doesn't matter how many people the killer has killed, he still isn't as smart as him. 5 minutes later, Arisu and his companions hear gunshots from the upper floor. They are horrified to see participants being shot to death by the horse-headed killer. He then chases after Arisu's group upon spotting them, spurring the trio to run for their lives. But instead of following the other participants and racing down the stairs, Arisu convinces Karubi to follow him instead and hide in a corner. This little maneuver has spared them from being caught by the killer, who doesn't notice them and proceed down the stairs. The mysterious player continues to watch all of this unfold with amusement, and he surmises that the killer is wielding a machine gun that can shoot at them from across the hallway. And since the killer expects the players to go down as many floors as possible, he follows the other participants down and misses Arisu and Karubi as they hide. Smugly, the mysterious player comments that the players are high level this time around. Even though it is Arisu's first time to witness people being massacred, he manages to notice the killer is dragging his feet and that they can move faster than him. Now that the killer is away from them, it's their best chance to find the home base and win the game. Arisu's determination fires up Karubi, so he yells out to the other participants that the killer is wearing a horse mask. He encourages everyone to communicate and tell each other about the killer's location while those who are safe can look for home base. The enigmatic player is intrigued by Karubi's proposal. But will this really work? Are the participants willing to risk giving their positions away? After all, it's only human nature to be selfish. Whether it's on the other side of the planet or right before their eyes, people don't care about others getting killed as long as they themselves are safe. But defying this expectation, a female participant risks her own life by doing exactly what Karubi suggested, causing the killer to find her. Arisu and Karubi are astounded to see how she easily climbs through the railings to escape. The two continue to find the home base as time is running out, but every room they try to open is locked. Now, the killer is on the same floor as them, but Arisu is starting to slow down because of exhaustion. He is left behind as a result. The killer starts shooting, so they immediately hide in different corners. Karubi is spotted by the executioner, and he has no choice but to run away without Arisu. He encounters 2 other players and works with them to hunt down the menace. They manage to catch him, but they don't realize he's holding more than one weapon. The other 2 players end up dead and the killer continues to go after Karubi. On the other hand, Arisu manages to stay alive, and when he spots his friend being chased, he calls out to him, prompting the killer to shoot at his direction. He fortunately misses. A puzzling moment then happens for Arisu when the killer simply walks away after failing to kill him. He looks at the bullet holes and realizes how this hunter's mind works. He is excited when he figures out that the killer doesn't need to hunt down the participants but only needs to protect the home base. So, to cover the location of the home base, he needs to play the deadly tag game. There is only 1 minute left when Arisu realizes the killer will be standing in front of their goal. When Karubi arrives, they both head to it and the mysterious player assists them. The 2 friends work together to get the killer away from the door so Arisu can enter. However, he discovers 2 buttons need to be pushed at the same time to clear the game. Therefore, he needs another person to activate them. The mysterious player also appears to help Karubi, but the killer manages to get away. When the killer is about to catch Arisu, the amazing climber from earlier shows up and immediately helps him push the button that blows up the killer's head and clears the game with just a second left. Both Arisu and Karubi get out of the building alive. The following day, Karubi is in a taxi trying to start the engine as he remembers what the mysterious participant told him the night before. He did not divulge everything he knew but still gave Karubi a hint that radios exist in Borderland and suggested looking for them in taxis. Suddenly, the radio in the taxi works and the voice instructs them to go to the beach. Meanwhile, Chota and Shibuki admit to each other that they are both scared to participate in another game and die, as they are not as strong as Karubi and Arisu. As for Arisu, he recalls his short encounter with the climber after clearing the game. She introduces herself as Usagi but refuses to join hands with Arisu's group, saying she's better off alone so her feelings won't get in the way. This is because she knows that they could eventually end up killing each other even when they're allies. However, Arisu believes it won't happen to them as he is determined to get out of the Borderland alive with his friends. Meanwhile, Shibuki shares with Chota that the first game she participated in was Two of Hearts, a psychological game that destroys the minds of those desperate to survive. The game happened on a train where out of 4 carriages, one was filled with lethal poison gas. They find out that there wasn't enough gas masks, so Shibuki was unable to get one. It was all a matter of luck and, fortunately for her, she wasn't in the carriage that did not have the gas trap. The day passes and the 4 of them need to take part in another game. This game will only last for 10 minutes. They are provided with different weapons they can choose from and a collar-like tracking sensor they need to wear. After this they are locked in a botanical garden to play the most difficult game, Seven of Hearts. Here they will take turns in playing a wolf and 3 sheep. However, they are horrified to learn that this game of hide and seek will only allow one person survive, and that person is the one who will be the lost wolf. The rest will be blown apart by the choker. The board game randomly chooses Chota as the first wolf to hunt the rest. The role of the wolf on the board changes every 3 seconds but all of them are too stunned and confused to do anything. Chota and Karubi beg Arisu to think of the best action for them to end the game with everyone alive, but he's too lost to come up with anything. The collar transfers the wolf role to next person whose movement it detects, so when Shibuki becomes the wolf, she runs away from the group, but Karubi chases after her and is determined to kill her. Survival can drive a person mad, and already, the madness is spreading in the game. In the face of this horrific turn of events, Arisu is still unable to think of a way out. Shibuki manages to break free from Karubi's hold, but her sensor detects Chota and it transfers the wolf role to him. He immediately runs off, and Arisu goes after him. But when he becomes the wolf, he instantly decides to abandon his friends as if he's hypnotized to do so and hides to save himself. While hiding, Arisu struggles to convince himself to forsake his friends. He forces himself to hide for the next remaining 5 minutes and suppress his emotions until he's the only one left. Chota then speaks through the collar device and expresses how he cherishes their friendship. He has already given up the will to survive after apologizing for his own weakness and betrayal. After hearing Chota, Arisu realizes that the one who lost to madness is himself for forgetting how his friends saved him from the pit of sadness and despair. Knowing he wouldn't last if not because of them, Arisu decides to withdraw from the game and instructs the rest to go to him at the entrance if they want to survive. Once he will be the sheep, he will run away and hide so the wolf won't find him. Karubi feels the same. He is willing to sacrifice himself for his friends so he's not going out while he's still a sheep. Even Shibuki decides to join the two in hiding. Arisu is surprised by their decision, and in a stroke of mundanity amidst the madness, Karubi reminisces the time when Arisu talked about his dreams of traveling to Australia. As Arisu's eyes are filled with tears, he runs around the area to find his friends. And now, the wolf is left to hunt for the sheep. But no matter how desperately the wolf looks for them, none of the sheep come out. No one wants to come out until the time is up. With that, Shibuki, Karubi, and Chota all blow up. Arisu can only cry, thinking that he is now alone in Borderland. But unexpectedly, Usagi appears, and she reaches out her hand, promising Arisu that they will survive together. That's it for this recap. See you on the next one. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to ES Anime if you haven't already. Bye.